Hey guys, welcome to another podcast, Paris, Texas. We are with an old acquaintance of mine. I've known this guy for a really, really long time. His name is Paul Allen. What's up, Paul?
A whole lot.
A whole lot. I went to school and Paul was teaching. We'll get to that. Well, let's go with the first question first. Paul, are you a Parisian or are you a parasite?
I would consider myself to be neither.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you call yourself then?
I guess you would say I'm a blossomite, if you want to put that word together. I grew up 2 miles north of Blossom, and that's where I still live today.
Really?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
But you still have a huge heart for Paris.
Yes, I do. I do.
That's awesome. Because you're tell everybody what your job is here.
Right now, I'm the president of the Lamar County Chamber of Commerce, and I am honored to be in this position.
And you've worked in Paris, not in this job. You're new to this job,
right,
fairly, but you've worked in Paris most of your life?
Most of my life, yes. I have.
Because obviously, as I started in the beginning, I remember you as a coach and a teacher in high school.
And I remember you running cross country.
I did.
I remember that coming around that track, and I still remember that.
Only sport I've probably ever been actually good at is running.
I still remember you running cross country.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. I think I even was a water boy for a hot minute when you were coaching baseball.
You may have.
I think so, because I was not good at baseball. I think I tried out for basketball like 3 years in a row, and I never made it.
The years begin to run together.
Now I can only imagine.
I spent 32 years in education, and so the years begin to run together, and what year you graduated versus what year someone else graduated, and what year I had you in class. All those kinds of things begin to run together now.
So do you still have people in, like when you run across them, do they still say coach?
Oh, yeah,
coach
all the time.
All the time?
All the time, and I still respond to it. And, I mean, there are people in their middle 40s that I coached.
Really?
Because when I first started, I was 21 years old, and I was coaching kids that were 18.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we were very close in age, and so, yeah, they still call me coach, and they're in their late 40s.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
That's got to be pretty neat. Something that just sticks around that long.
It does.
And then eventually you became principal, right?
I did.
And do anybody still call you Principal Allen?
They do.
They do?
Yeah, they still do. They sure do. So,
do they tuck their shirts in when they walk up to you?
No, it's not like that anymore at all. But, yeah, it's great when you run across students that you've had over a long period of time that that I've spent in education, to see what they're doing now and to see the success stories that they've got, or you see them with a family, because I remember back when, they were 15, 16, 17 years old sitting in a class or playing on a ball field, and so it just brings back such great memories that you can't take those away.
Did you know you wanted to be a coach?
I knew.
You knew from...
I knew. When I went into high school, and the thing that we're doing right now, the Chamber trying to help kids find out what they want to do, I knew from day one when I started high school I wanted to become a teacher and I wanted to coach. And I wanted to be... My goal was to be the very best teacher that I could be, because the old stigma of coaches don't teach and coaches really don't do a very good job in the classroom. I wanted to get away from that. I didn't want that stigma. And so I took great pride in what I did in the classroom. I'm not saying I was the best, but I worked at it, tried to make my classroom fun. But in the same part, I wanted our kids to learn. So I took great pride in what we did in the classroom.
What all did you teach?
Most of the years that I taught world history.
Okay.
I did a little American history, but mostly it was world history. I also taught driver's ed, but really world history was the one that I spent most time in.
Now, if I remember correctly, I can't remember if this is in one of my classes or if this is a story of someone else's classes. There is a couple times that someone had fallen asleep in your class, and then you taught from standing on their desk. Is that true?
I think that is correct. And they didn't wake up.
Then they didn't wake up.
I don't think they woke up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was. I told somebody. Matter of fact, I told somebody the other day this. If you're in a classroom and you're not getting their attention, you got to do something to get their attention. You've got to get them interested. And if you have to stand on your desk to get them to look at you and to pay attention to what you're doing, that's what you have to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is a true story.
Unique technique for sure.
Yes.
That's awesome. So was there ever anything else you ever wanted to do other than teach or coach?
The thing that I really thought about doing once I got to the point where I could retire, I really looked into and thought about getting into counseling because I wanted to be a drug counselor and help our young people. And had a lot of support with a lot of people that were involved in a lot of things that we were doing at North Lamar, and even pursued getting into that. And it just didn't work out. I was going to have to go back and start over basically like I was a freshman in college.
Oof.
And I didn't want to do that. So, that was one thing that I really felt a passion to do. But it just didn't, at my age, I just didn't want to go back and start over at that time. So I was very fortunate that Ronna K. Rusak from Counseling Professionals, who had helped me with a lot of things that we did at North Lamar with our kids, she hired me to do some work for her with Child Protective Services. So I spent a couple of years doing that kind of work.
It's amazing.
And I enjoyed that. Because everything was about the kids and making sure the kids were taken care of and things like that. So, it definitely didn't change my direction in anything that I wanted to do, that I didn't become a counselor. Because in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I always was a counselor, because being an administrator, you wear so many hats. And much like this job that I'm in right now, there are so many different hats that I am learning that I wear, and they're all good.
That's awesome. Now, how many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids. I have 2 sons and a daughter.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I remember, I think, your sons.
Brandon and Jamie.
Jamie, I think, was the closest to me.
Yep, you're right.
I have a funny story about him, actually, because he opens the door for my kids now.
Yes.
Who goes to North Lamar, where we grew up.
Right.
And he looks so much like you.
Yeah, he has no hair either.
No hair either.
He has no hair either.
And even your mannerisms, he just kind of has that not stone cold, but he's got that really
yeah.
I don't know, Alan stare.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We've both been told that many years.
Yeah. But this funny story is, so the other day, and I think I've told you this, but I'm gonna tell everybody else because it was funny. The way we have our cars long, it's got 3 rows, and we have our kids set up in the far back.
Right.
And preparing for our newborn who's coming soon. He'll be in the middle. But so Jamie didn't see that one of my boys was in the back, so he thought that the child was in the passenger seat, which was my wife, who's very short.
Yes.
But also very pregnant right
Exactly.
now. So he opens the door for her.
And tells her to get out. Yeah. Tells her to get out. Yeah.
He was very shocked when he got the door
I bet he
fully
was.
open.
I bet he was.
So it was a really funny story with him.
Yeah.
And then I actually know Brooke. Well, his wife, Brooke. No, not his wife. Brooke is your daughter.
Brooke is my daughter.
I'm sorry. I'm tracking.
That's fine.
Because she goes to church with us.
Right, exactly.
And she's Cade, her husband. I'm tracking. A great family.
You bet.
To know.
I'm very, very proud of my kids. I'm very fortunate. Rita and I are very fortunate. All 3 of my kids are teachers.
That's awesome.
And they all, it wasn't something that I made them do or anything, but they had grown up with me being in education. And so my oldest son is an ag teacher, and Jamie teaches and coaches, and then Brooke teaches at 2nd grade in Blossom. So I'm thrilled that they chose that path because it was so good to me. Of course, they're never going to get rich doing what they're doing right now, but that's not
rich in family.
That's not what it is, and that's not what it's about. But because there's so many other blessings that you have when you're in education and you see those successes that those kids have and you're a part of that.
And I think they saw your heart and wanting to be a part of the children's lives and growing up. And I think even in your current job, you are very heavy-hearted on kid programs. We just did a Chamber Connect where we went out and we were showing kids different options they could have within careers. And then you also did I forget the name of it, but where kids come to the chamber, junior chamber, and they get to see how the inner workings of the chamber in the city of Swartz work. Correct?
Well, and that's eventually what I want to happen. We're in the very early stages of that. When I started this job, I came in blind. So I have spent a lot of time asking a lot of questions. I have a great staff that works with me, and I have a great board that works very close with me. And they've helped guide me in a lot of different areas. But at the same time, they have also allowed me to do some things that I felt were necessary to boost some things. And one of the things was getting our young people involved in what's going on with the chamber and getting our businesses involved with what's going on with our kids. Because I know as well as anybody what I know that our kids need while they're in school, and they need some of that direction when it comes to what I want to do when I get out of school. What direction do I want to take? And we can't make, like you said, we just got through leaving Paris High School. And hopefully, eventually, when we go back there, more kids will come up and ask those questions, because right now they don't know. Sims Normant made a great comment while we were out there. We know what we can tell those kids, but those kids sitting there, they really don't know what questions to ask. But if we're present and we're there, I think that's important.
Yeah, you just open up a line of conversation, then they feel more comfortable around you.
You are exactly right.
So true. And I feel like, and this is not a dig on our school system or anything else, but me growing up, wasn't able to be introduced to the kind of things that I do now.
Right.
It was 18 years ago, so a lot of the stuff wasn't around. But I wasn't able, so I didn't have the resources sometimes to do that. And I think us coming in to the schools, giving them the option to connect with us maybe outside of school and do some projects with eParis or with myself doing video work, and that's just from my angle. But I think it's a really good opportunity for the kids.
Well, I think so too, but I also think it's a very good opportunity for the businesses that are doing it well. Because we've been to Northmore and we've been to Paris, and what I have seen is I have seen some connections that our businesses have made with each other that may not have been developed if we weren't doing this program.
Correct.
So I think it's helping the businesses that are involved as well. But once again, you have to take that opportunity or take advantage of those opportunities that you have, just like the kids do.
And if on a business side of point, there's a long game in this. In 5-10 years, these kids will be the people who own businesses,
exactly,
and are needing the services of the people that and they're going to be like, I remember you came to my school.
You're exactly right.
You opened up so there's another way just to open a door. There's nothing but positive things about what we're doing here at the chamber, and I love it.
One of the things that I continually look at is, and I was thinking when we left Paris today, what can we do better next week when we go to Prairie Land to make this work even better for our businesses and for our students? And so, continually looking at what you're doing and making those small changes or continually to make improvements to make it work better. Because it'll never be good enough. It'll never be good enough. But that's how I do things.
That's awesome.
That's how I do things.
Is there one thing that's coming in the 5 to 10 year goal for Paris that you're most looking forward to?
I'm excited about the possibilities of downtown. I grew up in downtown Paris when my mom would bring me down here and she would drop me off and give me $5. And, during those days, I could go anywhere I wanted to on the square. And I would pop in and out. I would go to McClellan's and Cress's, and I would go to Sears and Ayers, and there were just so many different fond memories that I had growing up of the downtown area. And I see that could actually happen again. But I also want to be mindful of the current businesses that are down here right now and the folks that are here now, where, they have input on how this looks and have input on how this is going to work for their business that currently exists down here. Because we've got some good folks in this downtown location.
Yeah.
We have some very good folks, and we have some very good businesses down here. And so I think that, and they made some comments, and they put, their 2 cents worth in when the Tool Design Group came here. And I think all of those things should be taken into consideration when hopefully this moves forward. So I'm anxious to see where that goes. I'm also anxious to see what kind of new industry possibly comes into Lamar County.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about industries that we're not even thinking of right now. I came into the chamber at a very good time because there's a lot of positive things happening right now in Paris or throughout Lamar County. And I see a lot of cohesiveness and people working together and helping each other out and supporting each other in their businesses. And I think it's just amazing. We are blessed where we live. You go back and look at Saturday and you look at Harley Davidson and the wow factor they created for the city of Paris. And I'm so thankful because so many people benefited in Paris because of what Harley Davidson did. And so those kinds of things, and they couldn't have pulled that off with a lot of different volunteers. And so we just have a great number of volunteers that will step up and help when you have things like that going on, that will pitch in and help you. And I can't say enough good things about our volunteers in Paris.
And they all have huge hearts.
Yes, they do.
For just not for specific things, but just anything that's going on in Paris.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I agree with that 100%.
They're so supportive of the different things that are going on because, take for example Saturday, I was at Washmasters and there was a good group of people that came into Washmasters to give blood. I couldn't even get into Harley Davidson because they were piled up with bikes everywhere. I went out to the boat races and, the guys from the city of Paris and how they had the area at Lake Crook fixed up and manicured. And I mean, they did such an amazing job. Those people that put the boat races, they want to come back and they want to make it bigger and better. And the reason is because of how they're being treated by the people of Paris, Texas.
Correct.
And so that's something that we should be proud of when people are coming from out of town for these different events. The response that they're getting is great. We are going to have multiple bike competitions in Paris now that we haven't had before just because of how these people have been treated when they were here. And so it benefits everyone.
Actually, this past tour, we had 2 bikes, right? Back to back.
We had back to back, and the one that we had on Sunday was called the Gravel Grind. It had never been here before, but the guy that put it on was so impressed, he wants to put 2 more on next year, just because of how he was treated and how the bike riders were treated and the reception that he got. And so it's how you treat people. It's how you respond to people and you take care of them.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
And we're blessed with that.
100%. Did you ever go, on subject, off subject, but did you ever go to the Grand Theater when you were walking around downtown?
The Grand Theater, if you look back there on my wall, I have a picture of the Grand Theater that will light up.
Oh, it lights up.
It will light up. That in the Plaza Theater. And I was down at Postal Options and I purchased those after some finagling with my friends down at Postal Options. The Grand Theater and the Plaza Theater are very fond memories of mine. And just going back in a little history, since I have been at the Chamber, I ask all these questions, and Bobby Walters, who is a I consider him to be a good friend and a very good mentor of mine. He's here every day.
Also volunteer.
And also volunteers. And he and I got to talking, and we started talking about the movie theaters, and there once used to be 5 theaters in this downtown area. And I was not aware of that. So he told me the story of Camp Maxey and how they were able to keep 5 theaters open. I only remember the 2, the Plaza and the Grand. And I still remember my wife and I dating and going to the Grand Theater. During that time, I did actually sneak into the Plaza Theater a couple of times and watched a couple of Bruce Lee kung fu movies. It was like, okay, you can go to the Grand, but I don't want you going to the Plaza. But I snuck in anyway because I wanted to see Bruce Lee.
That's fun.
But I remember seeing John Wayne movies at the Grand. I remember even seeing some Elvis Presley movies at the Grand Theater.
Wow.
So it was, I'm anxious to see what happens with the Grand.
I am too.
Because it is to me and a lot of people my age, they grew up and that's where they went to the movie. And but Rita and I, we had some dates there.
Yay!
Sure did.
That's awesome. Obviously, I'm a huge movie buff.
Yes.
I mean, that's my career that I went into, and I remember going to the Grand. I even remember the last movie I watched there. Do you remember the last one you watched there?
I do not.
I watched the Titanic. Was the last movie I watched in the Grand Theater. Yep. And then it closed that year.
I actually don't remember that. That would be. I know Rita doesn't remember.
Yeah.
That I wished I did remember. I remember more of going as a little boy to the John Wayne movies and things like that, and I actually remember sneaking up from the bottom and going up into the balcony and watching movies in the balcony.
Wow.
Yes, I remember doing that too.
All of my memory, the balcony was closed off.
Yeah, I remember when the balcony was open. And,
why did they close it off? Do you know?
I don't know. I guess too many kids sneaking up there. I don't know. I don't know.
They did it because of you.
You did it because of me. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited about the Grand getting, opened back up, and I know it's going to be a long time.
Oh yeah,
long drawn out process, but that's headed in the right direction, and that's just such a mainstay in the downtown area. But we got some good folks that are going to head that up, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, I am.
That's awesome. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
I just love hearing people's stories, and even down to like you and your wife going to the Grand Theater. That's just amazing history there.
Actually, our very first date, and she was at the drive-in out here on North Main. Wow. That is the very first date that we went on, and I keep telling her when I drive by, it's still there.
Yeah,
it's still there.
The screen
is still there.
Well, the building is too. It's just covered in trees.
that is where Rita and I went on our very first date, and that was, we were
kids,
freshmen in high schools. She and I have been married 36, 37 years.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of memories go back to some of those things that when we were growing up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, this is why I do it, to hear these kind of stories.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you doing that. I really do.
All right, thanks for joining in, guys. As always, we try to put out a new podcast every single Monday. You can tune in on your favorite podcast app. Just search for Paris, Texas. Thanks again. Bye.